Devna, you are mute. Okay. Now,
Hello and a very good afternoon, everyone, to all of our viewers. We are here with ET Education Presents Leading the Change with Higher Education Leaders in association with Coursera. Today's LinkedIn Live focuses on Education 2.0 in the age of AI, powering India's economy. I'm your host, Divina Lasson, and I'm thrilled to guide this session today. As we can see, India is truly at a defining moment. The Union Budget 26-27 has signaled a clear shift where education is no longer just a social imperative, it is becoming a core pillar of India's economic strategy. With an ambition to capture about 10% of global services trade by 2047, education and skilling are now central to how India competes globally. What we see is we are moving towards Education 2.0, which is directly tied with employability, AI, and digital skills, which are becoming foundational. Here, what we see is learning is continuous, it's modular, and deeply aligned with industry needs. And so, without further ado, in today's session, we'll explore how Education 2.0, powered by AI and enabled by strong industry academia collaboration, can truly drive employability, strengthen global competitiveness, and accelerate India's journey towards Viksit Bharat 2047. Let's get started, and I'd like to warmly welcome our esteemed panelists today. We have joining us Dr. Tripta Thakur, Vice Chancellor, Uttarakhand Technical University. Welcome. We have Dr. Lasya Thambidrai, Trustee, St. Peter's Medical College, Hospital and Research Institute, Hosur. Welcome. We have Dr. Anant Padmanabhan, Vice Chancellor, Srinidhi University. Dr. Dhrubjyoti Chattopadhyay, Pro Chancellor, Sister Nivedita University, Kolkata. Warm welcome. And joining us, our very esteemed guest, Prashasti Rastogi, Senior Director, Coursera for Campus. To all of our panelists, a warm welcome to you this afternoon. And let's get kick-started right away into our conversation. So, at the very onset, again, we are here to discuss Education 2.0 and what this really means in the age of AI. So, Dr. Dhruv Jyoti, I'd love to start with you and understand how we can really look at education as truly an economic infrastructure. So, in your experience, what would you say it will take to build an education ecosystem that really drives employability, productivity, global competitiveness at scale, everything we are here discussing today, and not just have it focus on the top few institutions? So over to you. Doctor, you're on mute. If you could kindly unmute yourself.
Thank you, everybody. The India's demographic advantage, it often described as the demographic dividend. It can only translate into economic growth if the workforce poses relevant skills. But if you look at the country, it faces a significant mismatch between education and employment. The economic potential of AI is substantial. Estimates suggest that AI would contribute approximately $607 billion to India's economy by 2035, primarily through productivity gains, innovation, and efficiency improvement across sectors such as manufacturing, healthcare, agriculture, and energy. Moreover, AI has a potential to strengthen India's aspiration um, for becoming a global manufacturing and technology hub. The digital technologies combined with AI-driven automation are enabling advanced manufacturing in sectors such as semiconductors, electronics, and renewable energy technologies. And these industries not only generate employment but also deepen India's integration into the global value chain. Now, in that particular context, I want to mention that while AI provides a technological engine for economic transformation, education is an enabling structure that prepares human capital to harness these technologies. Now, Education 2.0, it refers to the transformation of traditional education systems through digital tools, interdisciplinary learning, industry collaboration, and skill-oriented pedagogy. And before I go on to mention about the education tool which is address these gaps by shifting the raw learning toward problem solving, creativity, and technological literacy. AI literacy, data science, machine learning, and computational activity are becoming core components of modern curricula. Engineering and technical education in India has already begun adapting to this shift with increasing the specialized programs such as cybersecurity, cloud computing, besides artificial intelligence and data science. This transformation is not limited to the higher education. The digital platforms on the online learning system and AI-enabled adaptive learning tools are enabling personalized education at scale. And these innovations allow students from diverse geographic and socioeconomic backgrounds to access quality learning resources, thus promoting inclusive growth. To address the challenges, the collaboration with academia, industry, and government is essential, and universities must integrate the real world industry projects into curricula, while corporations should invest in reskilling and upskilling the programs for employees.
Sure. Thank you, Doctor.
Initiatives
We'll
such as
come
I
right
just
back to
want
you.
to end up with one particular part that initiatives such as this faculty development program, which is I find it is very important to actually find the mindset is going to help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. You've raised such great points here. We're going to deep dive into a lot of that right now. So, Dr. Lassia, let's come to you and really understand now at the very helm of building AI very much into the infrastructure of educational institutions, building that AI talent. As we see this becoming a structural shift in institutions, how do we move from teaching AI as an absolute niche skill to embedding AI and application across all the disciplines and roles in institutions? We'd love to get your insight here.
So thank you, Devina. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and very happy to be a part of this esteemed panel and discussing a very important and a pertinent topic on artificial intelligence in education. So as I think very clearly you have pointed out, right? So I think when we started off education, higher education, be it artificial intelligence, be it all these niche areas we are talking about, we're all taught as specializations, and it was all taught only for the computer science graduates, right? So that's how this entire stream started off initially, and it was taught to be only as a specialization for students who are pursuing these courses, right? So now we see a complete transformation, a complete change in how we view this complete setup right now. So now we talk about AI. I think it is completely impervious. So you go through all departments, it's all courses, all specialities. all domains. So I'm from the healthcare industry, right? So we see so much of application of AI in healthcare right now. So I think artificial intelligence right now is not a niche area, or it is not only for students who pursue computer science, but I think it has to be taught as a layer for all courses, right? All of them should be taught about fundamentals of AI, and that's how it is going on right now. And most of the institutions are now very well aware of that. And I'm sure they've built it into the curriculum, where I know a lot of institutes, they teach AI for everyone in the first year itself, irrespective of whichever course you take, whichever domain you are going to take up, be it an arts and science student, be it an engineering student. I think fundamentals of AI is something that is being taught not only for the student community but also for the faculty community, right? So everybody needs to know about AI right now, and it has become an essential requirement. Like how I should have a communication skill to crack an interview, I should have basics of my AI learnt, whichever domain I'm from. So I actually come from the healthcare community, and I'm a radiologist by profession. So I think our department or our course was one of the earliest in the healthcare to adopt artificial intelligence, right? So we use a lot of AI in our reporting, diagnostics. So I cannot say I'm a healthcare professional, I will not learn about AI, or I will not learn about the technology. So that's how AI has now penetrated into every domain and every course that we are looking at right now, to the extent that we teach about AI to our medical students as well, right? So that's how it's become. So I think, as you clearly said, AI is something that has to be embedded in the curriculum framework for all students, whoever get into the students, and it's been taught sometimes even in the basics of the school education, right? So that's how it has become right now. And I think AI also transforms a lot of the work that we do. So one is also from the curriculum perspective, and the other thing is also into the how you deliver the curriculum. So there is a lot of personalized teaching. There is a lot of teaching that has gone beyond, you say the same teaching for all students. So now AI actually helps us to understand what the student wants, and you can cater to a very personalized teaching methodology for the particular student. And that's how AI has transformed into curriculum delivery as well. So it's one is in terms of the curriculum enrichment, the other one is also in terms of the curriculum delivery. So how you deliver the content to a student is also now very well defined, and it can be very well analyzed using AI, right? So that's another area where I feel we have gone into, as I said, more in terms of embedding and also in terms of delivery of curriculum. A lot of AI tools are available and personalized curriculum is available. And the other thing that has also gone into is simulation based learning in terms of AI tutors and even in examinations, right? So we use a lot of AI in setting up question papers. So what we do right now is we don't need external examine papers to be coming from an X faculty, Y faculty. So when you have a question bank, you can actually do your question generation using an AI technology. I don't have to depend on manual, intervention in terms of setting up question papers. So I think it's huge. Application is huge. So AI, I think right now is there, and it is for everyone to learn. Otherwise, I think you'll be lagging behind a lot in what you can achieve in life.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Dr. Lasya. Yes, so pertinent that AI is truly being embedded on all levels. And Prashasti, would love to get you in on this conversation now. And in your expertise, how are we seeing educational institutions really use AI to emerge on a global scale? Indian educational institutions really harnessing this technology. And ultimately, of course, we're looking at a scenario where the training, the skilling must translate into real employability and job readiness. So, how are you seeing this transition taking place?
Yeah, I'll just take from where Dr. Lasya left. Um, you talked about economic infrastructure, Devina. So institutions have always been the pillars of economic infrastructure for India. One is advancing innovation and technology, right? So there's a research-based economy, knowledge-based economy that comes out of our institutions. The second is development of human capital. We are very clear that, interestingly, in the age of AI, as we are getting more and more into automation, relevance of human capital is increasing for high growth sectors like manufacturing, healthcare, and even information technology enabled sectors, right? And the third piece is when you drive innovation, when you drive research, and you have skilled human capital, the national productivity multiplier goes up, because whatever higher literacy and skill level rates are, they will lead to higher output, economic output, and therefore spending powers, and therefore impact the GDP also positively. Now, to deliver all this, we are at a very foundational time, right? And it's not a panic time, it's a recognition time that the skills are getting layered now, which means what we taught traditionally in the classrooms is not where we are today. So what got us here is not going to take us forward. If you look at the job postings that are there today, about half of all AI job postings are not in core computer science fields. They are actually an unlocking of opportunity in marketing, consumer behavior, operations, healthcare, education, etc., where we are having AI into our daily workflows. So which means institutions have to make AI literacy as a universal skill and then build depth into disciplines. So it's not like the earlier methodology that there is a core curricula and then there are some optional skills. It's basically the core curricula will govern the foundations of a domain, and it has to be interlaced by everything that is new. And AI maturity is about not making it optional, making it mandatory. If you talk about how the industry works, it's the world of agents where the work is getting done through multiple apps. Uh, in these apps, it does not really care where the data is coming from. The outcome is important. We have to switch that mindset into our education system also. We have to reverse engineer. So we can design backwards from skills intelligence that we have in the market. And most of the institutions that are represented here, they are already doing it. We just need to accelerate. uh, if Gen AI is the fastest growing skill, how do we interlace into agriculture? How do we interlace into manufacturing? And so that it's mapped, it's measurable, and the students are ready to deploy, right? The other interesting piece that is there is human judgment. Human judgment is another very, very critical skill. About 184% rise in enrollments in a critical thinking course for all the learners who were learning AI on Coursera platform is a very, very clear indicator that people know that human in the loop and the human judgment and quantification of um, removing cognitive biases, assessment of the situation, emotional intelligence, all of this is increasingly more valued. Is this being fed into our curriculums? And is it being assessed currently through our curriculums, right? I mean, I would love to have a world in which there's dabble time as learning culture, right? And we do that in tech companies quite a lot. There's a dabble time. So you have some study hours, and then you are assessed on your critical thinking on those study hours instead of your ability to reproduce. And then there's dabble time to bring all the learning from different disciplines and create something, and that becomes your project. That becomes your demonstrated output of how you are able to reproduce what you've learned. So I think these are the few things that are coming through AI. And the beauty is because these capabilities are built into platforms, they are also ready to deploy without too much of effort, because we need to free up the classrooms. Not actually classroom, it's the teachers. Let's free up the teachers to become real mentors. Go back to Guru Shishya Parampara, where there's a lot of more mentoring than delivering. So yeah, that's what we are seeing, Divina.
Thanks for that, Prashasti. Yes, truly inspiring, and absolutely this idea of having a dabble time to see what works for each institution sounds like a really great fit here. And Dr. Anant, let's bring you in on this conversation. So, as we've heard, of course, AI is truly the order of the day. Ultimately, we are looking at a situation where industry and academia do need to work together. So, how do you see this happening? How can institutions and industry work to co-create, to co-design the curricula, to co-design the learning experiences that ultimately best match the market needs?
Thank you, Devina, for bringing me in, and really nice to be part of this conversation. So, the way I kind of see industry integration into our curriculum, there are multiple layers at which institutions typically do this, right? The first is at a very advisory layer, and I think that's a very conventional use of industry presence. Usually the way it happens is you have people as part of your board who help you with thinking through your curriculum, thinking through the pedagogy, and so on and so forth. The second is at a slightly deeper level of immersion, which is through professors of practice. The UGC has a very interesting set of guidelines on that. And while, of course, institutions do that, we have to really assess the level of involvement that the POP model has actually brought in from a more realistic perspective. And finally, of course, you have the more deep kind of immersion, which is when what you were talking about, Devina, partially, which is the whole idea that you have courses that are or programs that are co-created. There is some bit of that happening, a lot of that happening, especially with the engineering education today. Maybe some of it in the healthcare and health sciences space as well, but very little in humanities, very little of that in business schools and so on and so forth. And since this conversation is pitched towards the larger pool of institutions in the country and not just the islands of excellence, I think we need to really start reflecting on what our humanities students, law students, and liberal arts students, and so on, are learning. Because a lot of integration when it comes to AI today, the conversation is heavily led by STEM, right? And not everybody is a STEM learner. Not everybody can be a STEM learner, and the market does not need as many STEM learners. So we also need to start thinking about how integration happens in humanities. So I'm going to confine my comments to humanities education because I think we are fairly well represented on the STEM side of things from each of the other panelists today. So as far as law, liberal arts, and humanities is concerned, the perspective I have today is that the disciplines themselves are being upended by a lot of AI, right? I mean, classic example is law practice. Now, earlier, when you spoke about industry immersion, what you would naturally try to do, and I have done that in some of my previous work, creating a fellowship model for law graduates, is getting people from law firms, from companies who serve as general counsel, and so on, to come and teach students. Now, the challenge that we are facing is that these same individuals and institutions are going through massive churn. When clients are asking you, why do I need to even come to a law firm, right? I mean, why can't I just get this done through a legal tech company, right? You have a lot of challenges on account of the fact that who is it that you are going to collaborate with, right? I mean, of course, we all love industry integration, but which part of the industry are we now talking about? Are we talking about the incumbents, or are we speaking about the disruptors here, right? So this is one major challenge. Second, when you talk about pedagogy, humanities typically, the first, foundational part of your learning is all about writing, active, abilities to read and understand content and communicate. Now, because of generative AI solutions, one big piece in this, which is writing, is almost like taken out of the whole equation, right? Because students are basically using generative AI to produce written material, right? So the kinds of skills that we required them to learn, whether it's through internships or whether it's through in classroom interactions, that itself is also going through a massive change. So industry academia collaboration is all well and good, but when you speak about humanities education or liberal arts education in the country, the biggest challenge that we are facing today is that generative artificial intelligence solutions are able to essentially do a lot of what traditionally was taught in a history 101 course or a political science course, right? So we are facing a lot of challenges with identifying the right part of the industry that we want to work with. Now, again, there are multiple models here that we can offer. One is to say that, look, you do your core education in the university. So bringing to the forefront the role of a university in the context of everything that we speak about when it comes to AI. And parallelly, we can help you upskill yourself through credentialing. So credentialing is one great solution that I think is emerging in disciplines like liberal arts and humanities, whether it's our university or some of the very good liberal arts universities in the country today. What we are seeing emerge from conversations with leaders there is that you are no longer in a position, which was the case maybe in 2012 when some of the initial liberal arts universities were set up in the country. You're no longer in that same position anymore to ignore the idea of employability. And so you try to bring in additional credentialing through the industry rather than saying that, look, we are going together to the market with a co-branded course, because that's very difficult to do in the context of particularly pure liberal arts streams like sociology and political science and so on. So there is a lot of credentialing that you can do. It can be data science training, it can be project management training and so on. So credentialing is a great way by which we are bringing in industry. The second is learning to work with the disruptor. So for someone like me who graduated in 2007 from NLS Bangalore, the industry means, the Amarchand Mangal Das's and the ACPCs of the world, because these are the big law firms that we were taught to look up to. Right. And today, suddenly, I'm seeing a bunch of new legal tech companies coming in, and I need my students, regardless of what I'm exposed to, which part of the industry I'm exposed to, I need my students tomorrow to learn to work with these legal tech products. Right. So, a lot of course integration, curriculum revamp can happen by integrating the industry and then getting those folks to come in and teach. Right. So I think that's something that we are definitely exploring, looking at very seriously, because I don't see a full program integration. Again, the foundations remain the same, aspects of critical thinking and all of that remain the same. You cannot be a good lawyer unless you know how to raise the right set of questions. You cannot be a good lawyer unless you learn to effectively communicate. So all of that remains the same. But you integrate industry by understanding which part of the industry now you want your kids to learn. If you're entering law school today, 2026, 2031, it's going to be a completely different world, right? So we have to anticipate that, get in those voices into the room, make them run elective courses, regular courses, whatever it may be, and look at your curriculum to be revamped and reformed. So I think from a humanities and social sciences perspective, this is where I stand at the moment.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Dr. Anand. It's really valuable. And Dr. Tripta, to come to you, we are now talking about the future needs, right? As Dr. Anand has so rightly said, the education landscape is evolving so rapidly. So, can you help us now to have this sort of vision, right? If we rethink the learning models for the future, the coming years, 2047 being a big landmark, what would you say really needs to change over the next decade so that we do see that very clear shift towards a flexible, a lifelong learning model, a lifelong learning mindset that ultimately supports the AI driven economy?
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be part of this very important conversation where we are talking that how education 2.0 are going to shift with the help of AI. Very first thing which has happened recently that we have identified what is the problem our universities and our education is facing. We identified our problem. First problem is that there is an industry academia linkage is very poor. So we are not able to provide the skilled manpower. We are not able to provide the people or students who are industry ready. So industry has to do a lot of work if they want to employ them. And there is a 1 year training, entire training to make them employable in their institute. So this problem we understand, and now we can solve this problem with the help of such a penetration of education 2.0, where digitalization is going to play a very important role. So we really want to skill our manpower, and we also know that disruptive technologies are coming. So not only we have to skill in this era, because this era is very, very important. We have seen that how computers has changed, IT revolution has changed our life. But this time, we are not going to replace the paper. We are going to replace the persons with the help of robot and other technology. So it's so important to understand this. And I'm very happy to share with you that AICT and our education ministry is already thinking in this direction. So they have given the mandate to every technical university or every education institute or national importance institute to give the 1 year opportunity to the student to work as a intern in any industry wherever they are interested. So if the student is going out from the college education for entire 1 year duration, how we are going to patch up with the grading system? So we are providing the opportunity because the opportunity is there. Now we have a digital platform. Now we have Coursera, Naptel, Swampit. So we are allowing the student to please appear in this coursework and complete your grading system and do work in the industry as an intern so that you can learn the skill. As far as AI is concerned, I really agree with the previous speaker, Liza, that it is not only computer science or IT. It is beyond that. So everywhere we are seeing that AI is there. So if the person is not well equipped with the AI skill, he is going to replace by the another person who is well aware of how to use the AI. Like I come from the electrical background, so I'm very sure because in the electricity sector, a huge transition is going on. So in this transition, AI is going to play a very, very important role. So my grid engineer is going to replace by another grid engineer who understand AI. So it is so important to understand this skill which is coming up so that our students can understand. But the way the AI is progressing, the way AI, generative AI, agentic AI are coming up, it's very hard for the academian and very hard to the expert to keep abreast themselves with what is happening right now. So it's such a learning which is required not only to the student but to the teacher also. So we have to create with the help of AI TOT program so that we can create the trainers who can further train the students in this disruptive technology. But certainly the online platforms are going to help us in this direction, and it is the time when we really need our student to learn everything. And NEP has already understood this, and they have come up with the idea that there is no boundaries. We really need multidisciplinary approach, and this multidisciplinary approach with critical thinking, this is also again going to play a very important role. The liberal art, which Dr. Anand has mentioned, is also going to play a very important role because the engineer has to integrate everything so that he can come up with the solution. And this solution is finally ultimately again need to upskill in future. So whoever is present right now, we need to upskill them. We need to train the students with the help of trainers, because in academia I can see that people are understanding AI, but the deep understanding and how to integrate AI application in every area. So what I have started in my university, I give the task to the teacher. Every teacher, whether civil engineer, electrical engineer, or mechanical or whatever, they need to take two examples that they need to solve with the help of student in AI platform so that they can understand. And fortunately, the our chancellor, the governor of Uttarakhand state, is understanding the importance of AI, and he's leading and always talking to all the vice chancellor how we can go ahead in this direction. So I'm very sure that with this kind of positive environment and with this kind of interaction which we are doing, we will make prepare ourselves to face the challenges of the AI in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. That's really wonderful there, and inspiring to hear what different institutions, how you are perceiving the shift that needs to happen. Before we wrap up, I'd love to invite all of the panelists in just to give maybe one line on how you're doing exactly this, right? How are your institutions rethinking your learning models, let's say over the next decade, to really keep up and create an environment that supports this AI driven economy? So, just in one line, Dr. Dhruv Jyoti, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. Uh, you know, from Dr. Lasya to Prashasti to Anand and to Sutta, my colleague who presented over here, I actually mainly wanted to trace about the point raised by Anand Padmanathan. Yes, we have to understand that AI has got no boundary between the steam versus steam. The steam is actually right now which A is this liberal arts is being incorporated into the system. And there we find that the creativity, the adaptability, and the intelligence of the people should also going to get together with machine and algorithm.
Sure. Wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Lasya?
Yes, so just to give examples that we do in our institutions in terms of how we have enabled our faculty and our students and the entire ecosystem is, I think, very simple. I think what we are probably doing is from foundation, right? So foundation is building up a very good curriculum and a syllabus. So we do have industry partners. We partner with important players in the industry to form a very good curriculum, which forms the foundation and the base. But as you know very well, the technology is so fast, it's disrupting that I think once you form your curriculum, it keeps changing every 3 years once. So it's very difficult for us to keep pace with that. So what we really do is we engage students in real life problems. For example, I would give a real example that we do in our our institution. So we have a good example where we have a medical education institution and a technical education institution in the same campus, right? So that advantage, what we really do is we do a lot of collaborative work where the engineering and the technical students collaborate with our medical students to solve real life problems. So again, here for healthcare, what we have done in our hospital is gotten the technical team to work with our medical students, come up with solutions that will actually improve the patient experience in the hospital by integrating AI, right? So where we found a lot of lapses where AI can play a major role. So these are areas where there are real life applications where students work on these real life projects, and that's how they really learn how they apply these kind of technologies in the real life applications. So that's one area I feel how you can learn. Again, micro credentialing is another area. I think it's been spoken about already, where you have to stack up your credentials. I think it's very important. What is more important from what I see is more than the degree, the education that we do. I think with India, I think the scale is not a problem. It's how agile, how realistic, and how we are able to apply and adapt our students to what's happening in the real life world. And that's very important for the student community to learn that what you learn today is probably irrelevant tomorrow. So you can't teach everything in the four walls of the university. Is impossible. But what actually will make them stand out is how they are agile and how they're able to adapt to whatever has been given to them. And that's something that we have to teach them in the institution, is what I feel. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Prashasti, same question for you. Over the next decade, what are the big shifts that you think educational institutions need to really face to create this flexible, agile, as we are talking about, lifelong learning model?
Yeah, so the kids who will shape the next decade are 18 years old today, right? And they don't know what's coming. But yes, we can, as institutions, try to make it happen positively for them. I'll give you some facts and some statements. So there's a 50% downward trend on campus hiring in 2025, right? This is a report that was published by Xphone. But at the same time, the Accenture CEO, Julie Sweet, says that they're increasing fresher hiring this year, but the mandate is AI skills, right? And this is across disciplines. Then, to Dr. Anand's point, there are two new roles I want to introduce you to, and these are stories that I heard from students themselves. One role is legal engineer, which is basically a high-paying job in legal tech to design legal workflows with automation, right? The second role is content moderator, and this content moderator is a liberal arts graduate who works at Google, uses AI workflows every day of their life to create content, but then humanize it with the human touch, right? To make it more relevant to the consumers of that content. And these both are very high paying jobs existing alongside AI, where 50% of the workload is through AI, but 50% of human skills are brought by these people, right? So this is the ecosystem for today's 18-year-olds that the institutions have to build. And as everybody agreed, this can happen through three ways. Stack up micro credentials, make sure they are demonstrated as part of their resume stack, because AI hiring is real. So if there's an AI agent doing the hiring for you, your keywords and your skills should be right proficiency and rightly indicated through credentials, right? The second is reverse design. take the skills, reverse design the curriculum. In Coursera, we have a reverse design methodology where we look at learning outcomes, then we decide how to assess those learning outcomes, and then we do syllabus curation, right? Similarly, in institutions, we enable institutions to reverse design from skills. Take skills, break them down into learning outcomes, and then put the syllabi together, right? And third is, for every technical skill or hard skill, layer a human skill or a soft skill counterpart together with it, because that's the curriculum of the 22nd century, if I may say so, that we are entering already, and it's happening right in front of our eyes, and it's uncontrollable. So, why resist when you can play along?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Prashasti. Really wonderfully encompasses what we can look forward to in the educational sector. Dr. Anand, some closing statement from you as well,
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. I think the upshot of a lot of things that all of us agreed upon today is that these disciplinary boundaries are kind of collapsing, right? And that is precisely why you have legal engineers, why you have content moderators with a sense of humanism in them. And when boundaries collapse as universities, that also means that the more isolated ecosystem that we were a part of till now, had the luxury of being a part of, if I may say that, till now, that is also equally collapsing. Right? So, how do you create pedagogy that allows your students, that allows your institution to be part of this larger ecosystem of industry, technology that is rapidly changing, and new trends which obviously will impact the economy and so on? And there, I think the first point that we kind of try to imbibe in everything that we do is the understanding or realization that skills expire. As much as skills scale, they also expire at a certain point, but the mindset doesn't. So we have to do a lot of mindset work with our learners. In fact, as a university, the advantage we have over a tech company which is running courses online or providing them credentials, all of which are important functions, no doubt, is that we have them here in the physical space, and the physical space can be designed in many ways to make them more collaborative, more human in their outlook, more problem solving oriented in their thinking. So there is a lot of group work, a lot of ways in which we change our pedagogy from the lecture driven approach to something which is much more task oriented, solution oriented. So that is one part of the work that we do, and I think that will stand the test of time, whether it's for the next decade or decades thereafter as well, because that is finally what makes us all human. So that's one very important aspect. The second is sort of being able to envision. Of course, none of us here have a crystal ball. Today it's AI, tomorrow it could be quantum, and day after it could be something completely different, mixed reality at a very different level. But the one thing that we do understand as a strong technical institution is that the age of the coder is really coming to an end, because AI is pretty much going to take over that function. So how do we train people to learn to work with machines? And you cannot do that with the standard CS curriculum. That is, I think, out. Now we need to really rethink the CS learner and that person's learner journey. And what that means is also integrating a lot of working with machines, working with the physical environment into what they do. So I think that's something that so first is learning to work with each other, second is learning to work with a more sophisticated version of the machine, and it's only going to get more and more sophisticated. And the third element is also to realize that the kinds of problems that we face today, I mean, AI is only one aspect, right? I mean, of course, there is a strong employability dimension linked to it, but there are also similar huge macro trends driving the world around us. So to realize that the next decade is, of course, AI is going to be a big part of it, but it's also going to be about climate change. It's going to be about sustainability. AI is going to offer a set of tools to help us solve these problems better, but orienting learners to the fact that we need a better citizenry, we need a better environmental track record, and many things going in our favor to exist as human beings here, and those are also problems waiting to be solved. So why don't we sort of start thinking about the various macro trends out there, learning to use AI or whatever else is the next big thing in technology as a tool to help us solve these problems better. So this is the sort of third dimension.
Sure. Wonderful. Thank you for that. And finally, Dr. Tripta, just as we are on the clock to wrap up the conversation, of course, you've already told us your vision of the big changes that are needed in the next decade. So, just a key takeaway for our viewers today on what really Education 2.0 means in the age of AI, just in a line.
Yeah. So, in a line, actually, what industry aligned curricula? All this need to design. University must find the syllabus updation. Syllabus updation is a very dynamic process. So, we need to continuously update the programs with the emerging technologies like AI, data science, and we need to do this. And this is possible with a strong academia industry collaboration. Secondly, as I emphasized earlier, we really need to do the multidisciplinary approach. And another way is to form the incubation center where people can talk to each other, and then incubation is finally go towards the R&D and then entrepreneurship and job creation, because that is also very very important, that everyone is not going to get a job like coding, the call center, the all the people have lost the job because of the new emerging disruptive technology. So we really need, we know that the jobs are going to come up as mentioned by the our speakers. So we need to create people, connect with them through incubation, R&D, and then entrepreneurship skill, so that job creation is possible. So university should not become only giving the course content, but they should do a handholding to the student so that they can contribute not only on R&D, but as a entrepreneurs they can be a partner for job creation, for India, because we are number one populated country in the world, and we are very much worried that are we able to take care, because we are producing so many engineers, so many, no, doctors are, we are not producing much, but engineers and others law we are producing, but how we will make them employable? Are everyone, are we are able to give job to everyone, or do we encourage people to become the job creator in future?
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Doctor. And on that note, I'd really like to thank all of our panelists for such an in depth conversation as we speak to our audience today to help people understand what leading the change in higher education means in this era of AI and everything that it comes with it. So, thank you so much for watching. Being with us on ET Education Presents Leading the Change with Higher Education Leaders in association with Coursera. And to all of our viewers, do stay tuned. We are going to come back to you with many more in depth conversations. From the entire team, many thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.